How's it going? Eric here. Today we're going to listen to speakers. Question for you. How much influence do these round things have on your tone? Oof. This thing's dirty. Don't know what that was. That didn't sound good. Now the three Celestion speakers we're going to listen to in this video are going to be two vintage 30s. One is a 16 ohm and the other one is the 8 ohm. And the 8 ohm is in the Mesa Boogie 2x12 cabinet. So it's their Mesa Boogie voiced 8 ohm vintage 30. And the 16 ohm vintage 30 was just a replacement speaker that I purchased to install in the ADA 2x12 cabinet so that I could have two different kinds of speakers to mic both of them and blend them together. I'm a big fan of that. So the G12S50 Celestion was pulled out of the ADA and the vintage 30 16 ohm was put in its place. And yes, this thing has a big cone. So what? For the signal flow, the guitar is going to go straight into the amp head. There won't be any boost involved with it, and from the amp head straight to the cabinet. That way you can hear exactly what's going on with these speakers. So the amps we're going to use the EVH5150 III EL34 amp head and the Peavey 6505 with 6L6 tubes so that you can hear the difference between how they work with these speakers. In addition to that, we're going to listen to two riffs, and these riffs stylistically are a little different, so again you can see how they sit with different styles of metal. So how the video is going to work is we're going to listen to these riffs in a full mix with bass, drums, and everything, and then we'll come back and listen to just the guitars by themselves so that you can hear the characteristics of each speaker. With that being said, let's get into it. So we're back from listening to the full mix. Let's check out the guitars by themselves now. Now I hope you're starting to be able to hear at this point that the vintage 30 16 ohm definitely sounds quite a bit different. Now on its own, especially played in the room, it's for me not very pleasing. So this is a type of speaker that I love to blend. I love to blend it with the 50. Heck, maybe even with the 8 ohm because they just seem a little nicer. Hey, do me a favor, will you? Let me know which one you like. You like the big cone? Hey, and another thing, do me a favor, click like and subscribe to the channel, will ya? Alright, so here's that other riff that I was talking about. Let's listen to that in a full mix now. All right, we're back from the full mix. Now let's check out the guitars by themselves now. So the question is, which Celestion is the best? Here's a conclusion. I think that the EL34 tubes just work really well with the G12S Celestion 50, which is more of the 80s, 90s metal kind of sound. I mean, hopefully you can hear it when you have the guitars by themselves and isolated. The Celestion 50 is definitely 80s and 90s. Like, my ear was programmed for those kinds of tones, and I still dig them. But if you notice, once it does get into the mix, that speaker tends to get a little buried. It just doesn't have the highs to cut through, which is probably why I like to blend the two, the Vintage 30 and the 50. Blending them together allows the guitars to jump out of the mix. Now, that being said, depending on what speaker you have, you can get pretty creative with EQs and blending them in a mix. So I don't really think it really matters that much which speaker you have when it comes to recording, because you can EQ it so where it sits where you want it to sit. Where the real difference lies is when you're playing in a room with the amp, you got the guitar cranked, and the feeling that that speaker gives you. That's the big difference that this video or any other video just won't provide you with. That you have to experience yourself. That being said, what's my favorite? You know, I really liked the 8-ohm Vintage 30, and I've said it before in my videos previously that I'm not a big fan of the Vintage 30s, but when you put them in a mix, they really come to life. I actually like the Celestion 50 the best, but it doesn't work well in a mix. That's where it really suffers. If I'm playing guitar in a room and I've got it cranked and I'm looking for that vibe and I'm writing some riffs and everything, that Celestion 50 and Celestion 75s for that matter, that came in the Marshall 300 watt 4x12 cabinets, like I played those for years and I love that sound. That just really inspires me. So I hope this video has helped you out. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you. So today, we're going to listen to some speakers. Thing's kind of dirty. Can you hear that? Testing left. Testing right. Center. Good.